Welcome back, everyone, to The Nerd Out. I am Hannah, and Jack, you're back.
I know. It's crazy.
Welcome back. It's so
excited
excited
to
see you.
I feel like it's been at least 3 months since I've been here.
I believe it has.
It has, yeah. So.
Yes. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
It is good to have you back.
I am delighted to be home with everybody, and I sure missed y'all. So thanks for tuning in. Or if you're new, hey, I'm Jack. This is Hannah. And yeah.
Well, last night, your return from sabbatical, time off.
Time off. Long vacation.
Long vacation. Siesta. But you came back and you preached last night 421 sermons here at Elements.
Yeah. On sabbatical, when I was bored, I went back and added up all the sermons that I've done at Elements. So it was 420 was Easter. And so last night was 421.
Wow.
So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Truly, I think, I don't think people recognize like 420 hours of preaching it, but the preparation that goes into it, the sacrifices. You mentioned like September is going to be 30 years of full-time ministry. Like that takes a toll on a person. And so just thank you for
thank you.
Just your,
I appreciate that.
Your obedience to the Lord and for coming back and just faithfully living out the calling.
Thanks.
So.
It's been a cool reminiscing season during sabbatical and just realizing, gosh, I feel like 30 years flew by fast. And I'm not there yet, September. But to see the faithfulness of God and through all the ups and downs. And there is the question sometimes you wonder as a pastor, like, gosh, is this making a difference? 30 years into this, what's the payout of it? Not for me, but the benefit, the ripple effect, maybe the impact of it. And so it's been fun to reflect on that and to see all the stories and to go back and like I found myself scrolling through my phone looking. So anyone that's watching this that wants to be a pastor someday, when you start that journey, get yourself a journal and write down every funeral and every wedding that you do, names of people, dates, places. I wish I had done that. I never did that. And so it was probably 15 years ago, I started taking selfies with not funeral people, because that's weird, but like at weddings. And so I would do a selfie with a bride and groom. And so I was flipping through all those to see. And obviously every story is, a lot of them are successful and awesome. Some are not, and that's part of life and the reality of it. But it's been a fun reminiscing season.
Good.
So,
what has that looked like? So 3 months off of being here presently, teaching every week, counseling throughout the week, just all the things that go into it. What was the most startling realization when you weren't there? You mentioned the fourth Sunday. Realizing, like, haven't done this for a while. Walk us through, like, what?
Yeah.
Just like at the onset of it, what was the most like startling realization of time off?
At first, it was super awesome because we were busy. So we were gone with the whole family at Disneyland and then a road trip up to Sequoia National Park, Yosemite, and all that. So when we got back, and before a couple other trips, I felt like after the first 2 weeks, it takes 3 weeks before your brain stops thinking about who you are and what you do. And so it was about the third week that I realized, I don't have to, I really am on a break, versus typically if you take a 2-week vacation, you're beginning to get geared back up mentally, emotionally probably, to get jumping back into it. So by the end of the third week was when my mind began to shift of like, I'm not done. I'm actually just getting started. And that was a weird feeling. And I think my antsiness was a part of that. And I think I spoke about that last night, just feeling like, what do I do? And I think that is when I think God began to start to whisper, you're not my employee, you're my kid. and I need you to rest in that. And that was a hard realization because I preach that. Like, I know that intellectually, I know that biblically, but I was startled at how subtly over the years that had begun to creep in to how I saw myself. I'm God's employee, so I have to do this. And listen, there is a participation side of any occupation that we have. It's not just ministry. Like, you have a role, you have to fulfill it, or you get to fulfill it, and you get to lean into that. But there was a startling realization in my own soul of, I think I got to a place where I was filtering everything through I'm God's employee instead of filtering it through the restful, peaceful state of I'm just God's kid first and foremost. I get to do this opportunity that he's given me, and I get to be a part of his kingdom movement and what he's up to. But that's not my core identity or my core role. Is to rest and be his kid. And that was I think the eye-opening moment for me. That I don't know if you get to some of those deeper realizations in the hustle and bustle of life and just the busyness of life. So it really was the unplugging from all of that at week 3 to week 4 that I feel like God finally began to whisper some of that stuff, and I began to notice things. And the solitude time in Colorado, it is amazing how startling solitude and silence is. Because you begin to realize how many voices you have going on in your own head. And I'm not talking like multiple personalities. I'm just talking the idea of how much drives you, how much is influencing you, and how broken you really are. And specifically how broken I am. Of like, oh, I didn't realize, I don't like that about me. And I'm still a work in progress. And God has work to do on me and in me and through me. And so it was in that stillness that you get to see that and begin to sense that I think the noise of life just covers over that. So that's really philosophical. Sorry, but
Well, it is also practical. I think pastors and anybody in ministry is very susceptible to believing the identity crisis of being God's employee versus God's child. But I think all of us will wrestle with our identity. You know,
Totally.
if you're a parent, sometimes that can supersede being a child of God. Being a spouse, for me, being a student has often superseded being a child of God. And so I think we hold multiple identities, not in a weird way, but how easily it is for us to let something else supersede being a child of God. And you mentioned last night about 3 John, like we are God's child. He lavishes his love on us. Like that is the first and foremost prioritized identity. Right. And when we have all the noise, that's all we have to wrestle with that. And so I think being, I don't know, not forced, but being nudged by the Spirit to engage in solitude, we can kind of recenter and recalibrate our hearts to be able to say like, no, I'm a child of God first. And then everything else comes to that. What would that look like if we can't do 7 days in beautiful Colorado where we can wear jackets
that was a gift.
And see snow? That just sounds like a fairy tale right now. It's sweltering hot here. So how can we have solitude here? Because I don't foresee myself spending 7 days outside here. So what could I do instead?
All right. So now that I've been back, what I've been working on is just think of it as it could be a 30-minute window, could be a 15-minute window, could be a 10-minute window. For me, it actually literally is a window. I have a chair in my front room that overlooks the window. We got a beautiful oak tree out front, and I literally sit there, and I have either the Bible app open or I've got my Bible with me, and before I do anything, I'm just trying to focus on who God is, and I'm trying to, Steve Cuss is an author. He talks about relaxing into God's presence. So much like as a parent, when my kids were little and they would crawl up in my lap and they would just, you could feel their body relax into you as dad. And, we'd cuddle and hang out on the couch. So I'm trying mentally to go, okay, God, I want to relax into your presence because I'm your kid. I'm not here as a pastor. I'm not here in whatever role I have, or I'm here just as your kid first and foremost. And so for me, it's been 1 John 3:1, just saying that out loud in my own mind, or out loud literally, and just trying to slow my mind down and be presently aware that God allows me the opportunity to be his kid. That he's the one that initiated that opportunity. I didn't earn that. That was an identity that was received, not achieved, as Keller talks about. And so I get to rest in that. I'm relaxing into God. And then I may read a little and then spend a few moments praying. So I'm just trying to carve out windows. And I think in the busyness of life, we don't have 7 days. I don't have 7 days other than the sabbatical. But if I can create moments or windows or pockets of experiences for that, that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that's achievable for some. I do think it might be a good benefit if you have more time than that to say, hey, I'm going to take a half a day a month. And it is blazing hot here. So maybe go up to Mount Lemmon for a morning and just hammock in the trees and just try to relax and read and think and contemplate. And I don't know if that helps, but
Absolutely. I think it is a struggle when you're first learning to do that.
Totally.
I know for me, I can barely sit silence for 30 seconds, let alone any longer than that. Like it is, I think it is a practice that has to be practiced. And so even
your
if
mind will race like crazy, and you start thinking about Aunt Judy and her birthday, and you're like, I haven't thought of Aunt Judy in years. And so it's when your mind races, you just go, okay, Lord, I'm coming back. And it's just kind of bringing your mind back, being with God. Not easy.
But the benefits are incredibly worth it.
Absolutely.
And over time it becomes more easy. To be able to just relax into the presence. I love that statement. So what else did you do on your sabbatical? Or what else did you learn? What else could you?
Yeah, I feel like, all right. So for the 10% of you that are into golf, I'll keep this short. Lyle told me to keep it at 10,000 feet. So I got to take my son on a bucket list golf trip to Torrey Pines, which is outside San Diego. And like on hole 15, we're teeing off right by the coast and the cliffs, and there's paragliders jumping off the cliff next to you and flying all around you. And there's a secret part of you that's trying to hit them with a golf ball. But it was breathtakingly beautiful to get to play there and to just have that weekend with my son. My dad had taken me to Pebble Beach after my mom passed years ago. And so it was kind of Torrey Pines is kind of the poor man's Pebble Beach in a sense, much more affordable. So we had a great weekend with that and just a lot of time with kids and getting to do things with them. Seeing Callista get to dance in Disneyland in the parade, and we're staked out, watching her go by, and then watching her graduate and do her senior dance recital with her dance team it was super cool as a dad. There was lots of dad moments. And then Amy and I got to do a few different trips to, obviously the big one in the front, and then we got to go back to San Diego for a little while and have some beach time, wear sweatshirts and jackets, and it was awesome. And I'm still trying to remember how cold I was to help me through the 110 degree days now. But so lots of downtime. I'm trying to think what else that wouldn't be boring. I didn't do a whole lot of projects around the house. I thought I was going to, but I did not. And I did not cook on my Traeger as much as I thought I was going to. So I'm trying to get back in that habit.
Fall is coming.
There you go. Fall is coming.
And I believe that the
football season's coming.
Church potlucks are coming too. So
yes, I did hear there's potentially breaking news, chili cook-off maybe. Okay. Yeah. So.
Awesome. What are the lessons or things that you are going to continue into this next season? I think one lesson for pastors and people in general is like your family comes first. Your marriage, like those are the people that matter first, and then the church comes second. How are you going to intentionally keep those family memories going into the this new season?
I think every person, not just pastor, any person in ministry always feels this drive that you're never quite done. There's always something else that could be done. And I think the beautiful gift of sabbatical and a longer break was an awareness that, yes, that is true, but it does not have to be solved by you in the sense that there's always something that can be done and we will get to it, but to be able to relax a little bit, I think that's the rhythm I felt released to trust that God's big enough to handle things. In fact, it's his church anyway. And so I need to be a good steward of my time, a good steward of my energy and resource, but I need to invest in my family more than the church. Andy Stanley had a little phrase, you don't want to cheat on your family. And so you want to invest in your family. And then the family of God will also get the best of you when you do that. And so that was just a good, fresh, healthy reminder to invest in my family. And I mean, I do that, but it'll continue to be on the forefront maybe and less competitive. That's what I'm hoping. And then I really felt like God was just whispering, it's kind of that season to begin to try to lean more and more into the fatherly role for the church and how best I can parent and father the people of our church and the people that we call Elements home. How can I invest in them as a good father? We have a good heavenly father, but one with skin on here in the trenches. How can I partner with God to do that? So I'm still wrestling through what that looks like, but have more fun also. I think it was just released to, it's okay to have fun at times. That I mentioned it last night, that the best thing a leader can give is the best version of themselves, a healthy version of themselves. Not perfect, because no one is, but to be healthy means it can't just be all work, but it can't be all play either. So you got to have a healthy balance in that. And that goes for anybody.
I like to have fun. I like that side of things. For our church, so that's, you just described your role for it. What about our role? Like, what do we do to support you in that? To pray for you? What can we be praying for you in that next season? And what can we do to support that?
You know, I think we have a church culture and a family culture here that people are beginning to find expression and opportunity to use their gifts and talents and abilities. And I want to continue to, as Paul says, equip the saints for the work of ministry. And so I know that's Lyle's heart, my heart, for us to utilize the people and not to set them free to leverage their skill sets, their ability, their time. So I think as people come up with dreams and visions of what they want to see, for them to be able to step forward and for us to be able to support that and encourage that. And as that all pursues after our vision mission, that can all knit together. People can obviously pray for Lyle and myself and for us as leaders, the staff and elder team and board, that we'd stay focused. And I always ask people when they ask, how can I pray for you? Pray for wisdom. Like, that's my number one. I want to have wisdom to be able to do the right things at the right time in the right way. And wisdom to be able to say no to the things that you need to say no to in order to say yes to the right things. And so that's probably a specific prayer. But that's something I would challenge you all to pray for wisdom in your life and your scenario and what you're at. So you can say no to the right things and say yes to the best things.
Very cool. Well, any sneak peeks into next week, our new series?
Yeah, the new series, Lyle and I are meeting more about it. We had felt we had another series planned, and then we were like, let's scrap that. Let's go through the book of Philippians. Philippians is the Apostle Paul writing from prison, house arrest. Most scholars believe in Rome, and he's writing to a church in Philippi, going, "Hey, I know not everything seems well, and there's a lot of heartache and a lot of struggle. In fact, I'm in a lot of heartache and struggle because of what's going on in the scenario. But our situations, our circumstances don't always have to determine our inward joy and the hope that we can have and the way we begin to live out the way of Jesus, even in the difficult or challenging circumstances we may find ourselves in." So we felt like going through that book this fall would be good for us, and not just good for our church, but good for the scenario and situation that we're all navigating. It's a tense reality around us, and how can God's joy and heart and his desire to see us live more and more into the fullness of Christ and the life of Christ play out. So that's a very small sneak peek. I think I'm getting into it. It's either week 1 or week 2. Just the deeper reality of understanding we're all a work in progress. we're all under construction, and the Spirit's still got work to do in each of us.
I think it's a fitting book because after a mountaintop experience, back into the valley, that's when everyone's most vulnerable, and that's when we need spiritual protection the most. And I can't think of any better antidote than walking in joy. Mm-hmm. And the book of Philippians, that is the theme, is just joy in the midst of circumstances, joy in the midst of division, joy in the midst of tension. And so I think of just personally on our church, but also just our nation, where we're at, our individuals, like we need joy. Yep. That is the antidote. That is what sets us apart. And I think it'll be a great series and great study. It's a short book, so if you want to prepare in advance, it's just four chapters. You can read.
You can read it in 12 minutes.
12 minutes? Mm-hmm. All right. 14 for some of us. But yeah, I think that'd be a good, takeaway too, is just kind of reading that and kind of preparing for that.
Jeremiah was in here just a couple of weeks ago, and he taught on joy. And so you could go back and listen to that message if you want. And I think he did a nerd out as well. So you can go back and catch that.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, we're happy to have you back.
Glad to be home.
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for hosting us.
Well, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you soon.